Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to the Storytellers Guild. My name is Max. Today we are continuing our Let's Write series, Season 1. This is a detective story, a short story to kind of get us going here. The name of the story is there in the top left of the screen. Let's go ahead and head over to our project. Detective Duncan Watercolour, the case of the missing locket. So today we are continuing where we left off yesterday. The protagonists had just entered through the gates of the victim's sort of estate, and we're off and running. Before I get started, I want to remind you, if you would like to go ahead and sort of reread right now where we're beginning, so that you can have a sense of where we are headed in this episode. I've already done so. I'm going to make a couple of adjustments. So for the first one, I'm going to make sure that Duke asks this. I'll leave it as a period because it's, he's not really inviting them. He's sort of bossing them around. And there was something else I wanted to change, but I will leave it. Oh, he looked around at the assembled nobles again. I want to make it just a little clear that he's obviously making decisions to make them happy, right? So we come down here, and before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that two very important things that I always try to point out every episode. The first is that we're here, we're doing it, sitting down every day, being accountable to yourself, and just writing helps to flex that muscle and make your creativity better and make it stronger and make it more consistent. So congratulations to me being here and doing that. And congratulations to you for coming back. I hope you continue to show up for yourself in the same way in your writing. And I hope you have a cup of liquid inspiration handy. I do. Coffee, tea, water, or something stronger. So grab something to drink and let's get started. So they've just walked through the grandiose gates of his estate. The lawns were huge. Nearly as big as the entirety of the police headquarters in the Merchants District. What was the young one's name? Quinn. Quinn stared around. Quinn, no, she didn't stare because she's impressed, but she's also working really hard to do her job. So we'll say Quinn's eyes roved around, taking in all of the details and noting particulars. Duncan was watching the headmaster and the Duke. The gates closed behind. How did the thief enter your dwellings? Asked Liana. Now that they were out of earshot of the public. So now that she's given him some space, they're giving them some space, she's going to go ahead and start, doing her particulars, going down the list of things. My bedroom window. Sighed the Duke. I leave it open at night. I need the fresh air to help me sleep. To help me sleep. It can only have been through the bedroom window. did you notice it? Something was missing. Amiss. Something was amiss. It's more fanciful to say something was amiss than to say something was wrong, right? It's a little bit more exciting. When did you notice something was amiss? I'm going to come back up here and put the gilded gates. Duke's staff ran up to offer him refreshments. Offered them some to have guessed as well, Hancock. Scolded the Duke. Hancock, the staff member being addressed, flushed noticeably. He was young. And overeager. He offered the tray of refreshments to the officers, bowing his head low to hide his reddening face. Said Quinn, but Duncan grabbed a handful of cookies and stuffed them into his coat pocket. Duncan is not, he doesn't stand on circumstance, right? He's not trying to impress anybody. All right, just one. Sweetest thing she had ever tasted. Then he grabbed a pastry. So I'm coming back up here. I'm going back up here and looking at like, no thank you. And this is like, this also sets up like the dynamics of the characters and also starts to draw Duncan and Quinn away from the back and forth between the Duke and the headmaster, because I want this to be more of their story, right? And quaffed it. And well, all right. Laughed Quinn, but just the one. Picked a pink cookie in the shape of a flower and took a bite. It was the sweetest thing she had ever tasted. She had to fight back the urge to spit it out. Put it in her pocket. her uniform pocket. I'm saving it for later, she said apologetically to Duncan, to Hancock. She's trying to save face. Duncan doesn't care. And this sort of sets up a dynamic too between them about how she tries to follow the rules and he kind of flaunts them. And that will be like a central theme of all of these stories, and also help to really reinforce like their relationship and a lot of the tension that exists there, right? By this point, the headmaster and the Duke had disappeared into the house. And I'm gonna have, I think, instead of like following the main thing, because you know it's obvious the headmaster has that under control, so Duncan is gonna stay here and actually talk to this staff member. And this is like actually part of the reason why he wanted to do it, to like hang back a little bit and be able to kind of like case the grounds and get a sense of the crime scene without the Duke sort of constantly interfering, right? So the headmaster's handling all the niceties and he can just like do his job. Asked Duncan. Said Hancock, looking over his shoulder. Duncan produced his badge. Duncan Watercolour. R.D. This is like a silly title that I'm going to give him. It's like Royal Detectives Society honoree or something like that. RDH. Is my associate, Officer Quinn. Are here at the behest of the Nobles Knights. Anything you could say to them, you can say to us. He smiled warmly. Here to help, my boy. Set his tray on a nearby bird bath. Sorry. So this is like an interaction. I realize I'm kind of tunnel visioning here. I'm sorry, I'm really getting into it. So what's happening here is that you get to see that like Duncan is putting this guy at ease, right? And helping him feel like it's okay to be honest. And that's going to be one of his big traits throughout the entire thing, is that he's empathetic and patient and compassionate. And so his skill with people is going to allow him to do a lot of what other detectives couldn't, right? Because he creates spaces of trust for people. Hancock instead is stranded nearby bird bath, right? He groaned, rubbing holding it for an hour. Not at all. Duncan grinned. Now, RDH, said Hancock. I've heard of you. Royal Detective Honoree. The Queen. Find her. I've heard of you. You helped Royal Detective Honoree. You helped the Queen find her crown 2 years ago. Now, what happened last night? And see, now it's happening. We're here. We're in the middle of an interrogation. This is our first witness, our first person to be talking to, and we've set up kind of this anticipation, right? So, we've created the situation. There's a lot of dialogue. I want to probably try to break it up at some point. I might do that in editing because there's a lot of talking happening here, you know, if we scroll back up through. But I want some more description. This is a beautiful property. Maybe we can sort of pepper it in later, because it's a tricky balance in short stories between making it a pretty space to tell the story and giving the story enough time to evolve. So I may do some tinkering with that in editing. But for now, we'll call it there today. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your time writing. Don't fear that blank space at the bottom of the page. It's nothing but opportunity. I'll see you soon.